Wow. Okay, so these are the KEF LS LUXE. I've had them for a few weeks now, actually, before the launch date, and that presents one problem, which I'll explain in a moment, but it has given me a chance to live with them, hear them, and be vastly impressed by them. They are, I think, the most expensive Bluetooth speakers I've ever reviewed. I say I think because this does happen occasionally with brands where you get access to the product early, which is a privilege and fantastic. But sometimes it's so early that they haven't confirmed the pricing yet, or they haven't confirmed it with you yet. As I'm filming, I'm still waiting for the pricing. It may arrive during this video. That's exciting. By the end of this video, I might have that email. But they are going to be expensive. I know that because I have a pair of KEF LSX2 at home, which are part of my DJ setup, and they're about 1,200 quid. I've also got a very old KEF HTB2, I think it's called, sub, which has been attached to my home cinema setup for years. I'm never going to give it up, ever. You'll have to pry it out of my cold, dead hands, trust me. But that was very expensive, and KEF stuff is, but there's a reason for that. And the LS LUXE, according to KEF, are a new definition of luxury. Now, this isn't an audiophile channel, guys, so I'm not going to go into every tiny detail about the sound profile and all that stuff, because you probably don't care if you watch this channel, and I don't care either. If you want a very down-to-earth, fairly quick review of the LS LUXE before you spend presumably quite a lot of money, keep watching. Before we crack on, this part of the video is brought to you by Backmarket, the leading global refurbished marketplace, and honestly, given how expensive modern tech is, the timing's perfect. Backmarket recently commissioned some research, and it turns out that 40% of Brits associate their fondest childhood memories with classic tech gadgets. That's 2 in 5 people, and I'm definitely one of them. For instance, if I see a photo of an iPod, I can't help but be transported back to a much simpler, more enjoyable time, which is why I picked this up recently from Backmarket. And yes, it's just as wonderful today as it was all those years ago, perhaps more so. And that might be why iPods and MP3 players top the wish list for retro devices Brits actually want to own, followed by the Nintendo Game Boy, and yes, it's only a matter of time before I get one of those again. But also CD players, Walkmans, I need one of those as well. I need all this stuff. Digital cameras, you name it. All of it is available on Backmarket, professionally refurbished, tested, and at a fraction of what you'd pay new. And yes, refurbished is absolutely fine, trust me. If you've got that nostalgia itch, and based on that research you probably have, head to backmarket.co.uk and check out their vault of retro tech, such as Game Boys, flip phones, iPods, and much, much more. I should note that you get 2 of these for your hard-earned money. The other one is just over there. I didn't bring it over because they're so heavy. That's the first thing to say about the LS LUXE. They are ridiculously heavy, but in a very good way, in a very reassuring way, because generally speaking, heavy when it comes to speakers means better. Now, it's designed by Ross Lovegrove, who is a Welsh industrial designer born in Cardiff in 1958. I don't really know much about design, so I'm aware of Ross through his connection with KEF, but that's about it really. He's apparently nicknamed Captain Organic, and the reason for that is because his designs draw from nature rather than from boxes. That's very nice and reassuring, and you can see the effect of that on the LS LUXE. Now, he has designed a fair few things for KEF before, but he's also designed a couple of speakers that I can't pronounce. I will make a fool of myself if I should try it. The Muon, and the Muo Portable. So he has a long-standing relationship with KEF, and that's a good thing. And he's a very good designer. Look at this thing. It's a work of art. Even the driver is just this beautiful thing. That in the middle is a copper flower center, this thing here, which is one of the visual signatures of this design. And it's very, very eye-catching, very premium looking. It's a Uni-Q driver as well, which is this part here. The cabinet itself, I think it's described as being egg-like. It is kind of egg-shaped, and a lot of KEF's speakers are egg-shaped. I think I call them the eggs, because I used to have these kind of left and right and centre speakers for my system at home, which were KEF eggs. If you're a KEF person, get involved below. Was that the name of them, or was that just the fan name for them? I can't remember. Then if we turn it around, stop talking about eggs, Mark. We have a port here for bass response, I think, and this lovely design, which, sorry, what a weird video you've tuned into. It just feels so good. It's metal, obviously, and look at it. How many speakers look like that behind, on the rear of them? The bit that you don't see, the bit you shove against the wall. How many speakers look like that? Loads of connectivity, which I will come on to in a second. But yeah, design-wise, they're just beautiful. The KEF logo is on the top, as you can see there. I mean, this is the TLDR, and it might stop some of you watching immediately, and depending on how much they are, force you to go and buy them. But if you want a pair of speakers that look gorgeous and sound fantastic, and you have the budget for them, get these. But carry on watching this video because there's more stuff to talk about. Oh, and they do come in different colours. Dusk Titanium, which is this one here, Mineral White, and Eclipse Black. Right, get on with it, Mark. Now, these aren't just good-looking speakers. They do have some very clever stuff going on inside, which you would expect from KEF. Firstly, the UniQ driver, it's 12th generation. We've had 12 generations of this particular speaker from KEF. It's 6.5 inches, and for comparison purposes, that is bigger than the 5.25-inch driver in the LS50 Wireless 2. So bigger potentially means louder, more dynamic range, more depth, more all sorts of stuff. So if you have those speakers, the LS LUXE could be quite a big upgrade on those. It also has something called MAT, which is a maze behind the driver that soaks up 99% of unwanted sound. That's KEF's figure. I have no idea how to test it, but in theory, that means these should only produce the sound they're supposed to. So any frequencies that shouldn't be there, if you're sensitive to that kind of stuff, if you're a real audiophile, in theory, I can't test this because I don't know how to, the KEF LS LUXE should pretty much eliminate any unwanted sound, which is good. They've also got something called VECO, which is velocity control technology. It is patent pending, but it's a motion sensing thing with a feedback loop to cut distortion. Sorry, KEF, for butchering that, but that is how I read it. It's new to this speaker and it's genuinely novel. So again, the idea is that the driver monitors itself and then corrects itself. So if anything unwanted is going on with the response from this big cone here, it fixes itself, which is really clever and again, impossible to test from my perspective. It also has the brilliantly named Music Integrity Engine, which is KEF's DSP. It's the thing inside here which basically makes this make noise. That's how the music and the whatever it is you're listening to is produced. It goes through that DSP and turns it into things you hear. And because it's called the Music Integrity Engine, I think it must be absolutely amazing. But it is tuned specifically for this speaker as well, so they've done some stuff to it to make it work even better for the LS LUXE. Connections on the back, let's remind myself. So we have a HDMI connection for your TV. So in theory, these could replace your soundbar. That's an interesting idea. An optical connection, coaxial, auxiliary. There's also a sub output on both speakers and a network connection. So you can plug in an RJ45 and use that to connect to your router and get music into it that way. It also has another connection here, another RJ45, which you can use to connect the two speakers together. You don't have to do that. They do connect wirelessly, so you can just plug them both in with power and then not worry about anything at all. The only time that you might want to use the connection between the two of them, the cabled connection, is if you want to reduce latency. I had to do this at home with my LSX2 because with the DJing gear that I use, I can't have any latency between what I'm hearing in the headphones and what's coming out of the speakers, and that happened until I plugged in the RJ45 between the two of them. So if that's you, very useful, but you can set them up incredibly quickly. Just plug them into power, connect them up, connect them to the app. The KEF app is very good, by the way, and away you go. But the big question is, what do they sound like? Forgetting all that tech, all of that design stuff and the heritage and everything with KEF, what do these things sound like? Because they're expensive. We know they're expensive, regardless of what that number actually is. They sound amazing. Because of course they do. They sound utterly wonderful. KEF stuff does have a signature, definitely, and it's quite hard to describe what that is, but it's just very pleasing for me straight out the box. And this is a very subjective thing. I've always said that about sound. It's very much down to you in terms of what you like, what you don't like, but I challenge anyone, I think, not to be impressed by KEF stuff as soon as you hear it. And these LS LUXE, they are huge, as you would expect from a cabinet this big, and also with a very big driver compared to the rest of the lineup. It's ridiculously loud. It's much too loud for this room in here. This studio isn't very big at all, and if your living room is medium sized, even if you've got a big living room, well, that's probably what they're built for, to be fair, but for a medium regular sized house, they are overkill, really. But the good thing is they don't lose any of their dynamic range or detail or anything when you turn them down. You don't have to drive these ridiculously to get that pure audio and just the lovely KEF, rich, thumping, detailed sound. You don't have to really drive them. You can just turn them up enough and enjoy them. Enjoy hearing things that you've not heard ever before on your favourite tracks from your favourite artists. They sound beautiful. Now, I'm not going to do a sound test in this video. I know people will be furiously typing away in the comments now saying, where's the sound test? The reason for that, as I've explained before, is in doing a sound test... Alexa, stop! What was that? A sound test, if I play this speaker to you now, it goes through that mic on the camera, it then gets processed in our editing software, it gets uploaded as an MP4 file, whatever it is, something, to YouTube. YouTube then does stuff to it, and then you watch it through whatever it is that you're... It doesn't sound anything like it sounds in this room. I know 99% of you understand that, so apologies, but people who are still halfway through typing a War and Peace sized comment calling me an idiot for not doing it, that's the reason I'm not doing a sound test. Just trust me, they sound amazing. Now, they are fully wireless as well. They are Bluetooth speakers, so you can connect your phone or your laptop or your tablet, whatever, to these via Bluetooth, and they sound fantastic like that as well. However, you can get stuff into them via the connections that I mentioned earlier, so it's worth bearing that in mind. They're also AirPlay and Google Cast compatible for multi-room playability, and they have 24-bit high-res streaming built into them. And if you really want the best from these, that's the way to go. Connect them to your streaming service, whether it be something like, I can never pronounce it, Qobuz, that's the one that I use that I can't pronounce. Whatever your high-quality streaming service is, connect it to these and just bask in that wonderful sound. It's unbelievable. And why on earth you'd connect these to a sub? I guess if you decide to have these as your soundbar replacement for your TV, you might want some real low end as well, some kind of sub 30 hertz stuff going on, but they go so low. I would just buy these first, and then if you think you're missing some bottom end, invest in a sub, but I think you'll be very surprised. I think it's worth just expanding a little bit on the audio quality that you get from the LS LUXE, because if you're looking to spend a lot of money on a pair of speakers, there's one thing that you need to know that will make you feel much better about doing so if you haven't done before, and that's the stereo imaging. So aside from all of the lovely rich detail that you get from KEF speakers, one of the things I promise will stand out is the way that everything is separated across the stereo field, and more importantly and more impressively, how everything that is centered is really centered. So the vocals, anything where they haven't moved it left or right is sitting right in front of you, and the width that you get from everything else is just amazing. It's one of the main reasons it's worth spending a bit more on speakers, trust me. Right, back to me over there. Before you rush off and buy a pair of these, there are some problems which I need to turn my KEF fanboy thing off to talk about. The first thing is the price. They are going to be very expensive, incredibly expensive, because you're paying for the design, you're paying for the KEF heritage, you're paying for the audio quality, all of the engineering that's going into these. They're going to set you back quite a lot of money, and if that isn't pocket change for you, then you need to be sure they're right. That leads me on to the main problem with these, which is that they're just massive. Look at it. It's a huge speaker, and you need the space for it. I had a plan which was to replace the LSX2 on my DJ gear with these, but these are way too big. I do not trust those stands that I've got to hold these, and also they would just be too big for that room. The LSX2, which are cheaper, they just do the job perfectly. In fact, they do the job overwhelmingly well, so they might be a better choice for you potentially, and equally look beyond KEF. There might be other speakers out there that you want to go for. I appreciate that you want these. I get that. I've made them work in this room. I've put them on my main desk over there, and even on there they look a little bit too big, but they just look they look great regardless, and I'm lucky enough to have this studio. So firstly, make sure you've got the space for them. The other problem is the fact that once you go KEF, you keep going KEF. So the first pair of KEF speakers you buy might be the first in a long line of stuff from KEF. So you'll want the headphones, you'll want a surround sound system from them for your TV, you'll want another pair of KEF speakers for your other room, your garage setup, or your spare room that you've set up as a kind of listening room. It gets very expensive. That's the biggest problem with KEF. They're very desirable, and when you first hear them, you just want more. And this brings me to my inevitable conclusion about the LS LUXE. We have email. 3,500 Great British pounds. 3.5 grand. You'll have to double check the KEF website in your country if you're not in the UK, but yeah, 3.5 grand. That's kind of what I was expecting, to be honest, and it does confirm that they are indeed expensive, very expensive. A lot more than the, for instance, LSX2, which are a fantastic pair of speakers, but if you've got the budget, and if you're a KEF person, just get them. If you've got the budget and you're not sure, go and check them out, go and have a listen. If you haven't got the budget and you just like watching these videos, thank you. Remember to hit subscribe, get involved down below. I will as well. I'm fascinated. Are you buying these and why?